All right, so let's just jump right in. When you hear students in AI, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's probably cheating, right? Just a quick way to bang out an essay. But what if I told you the real story is way more interesting and honestly a lot more sophisticated than that? Because it turns out for a ton of students, AI isn't a shortcut. It's becoming something completely different.
And this quote from a postgraduate student, Ruchira Parchur, just nails it. GenAI wasn't just a tool. It acted as both a partner and a critic. Wow. A partner and a critic. Think about that for a second. That one idea, it completely flips the script on everything we thought we knew about AI in school. It's not about just getting answers anymore. It's about starting a conversation.
So you might be wondering, where are we getting all this from? Well, it comes from this really cool collection of stories called Learning with AI. And what's so great about it is that this isn't some stuffy report written by professors studying students from, an ivory tower. Nope, this is a project written and edited by the students themselves. We're getting a real, unfiltered, on-the-ground look at what's actually going on.
The whole thing is built on the actual real-world experiences of 28 different students, and their submissions were even edited by their own peers. It's that authenticity, that grassroots perspective that shows us these incredible patterns in how they're using AI. And trust me, it goes way, way beyond just typing in a simple prompt. They're weaving this technology deep into how they learn.
So who are these students exactly? Well, take a look at this. The vast majority, we're talking 22 out of the 28, are postgraduate students. That's a huge deal. It tells us we're not just talking about some simple first-year assignments here. We're getting a window into how AI is being used for really complex, high-level academic work. And another thing, while most of the students are based in the UK, the project itself has a really global feel. You've got contributors from the US, Canada, Greece, even Mauritius. So the stories we're hearing, they're not just some isolated trend. This is a worldwide shift. Something big is happening in how people learn, everywhere.
All right, so now we have a good picture of who these students are. But the next big question is, what tools are they actually using? Let's dig into their AI toolkit and see what the data has to say.
I mean, this is really the million-dollar question, isn't it? There are new AI tools popping up literally every single day. So which ones are actually cutting through all that noise and becoming essential for students?
Well, the data's pretty clear. No big shocker here. ChatGPT is the undisputed king. 20 out of the 28 students reported using it. But what's really interesting is what comes next. You've got Microsoft's Copilot and Anthropic's Claude with a pretty strong showing too. And then, beyond the big three, there's this long list of 15 other tools. Things like Gemini, Perplexity, Grammarly, even fun stuff like Character.ai. What this tells me is that students aren't just picking one tool and sticking with it. They're building a whole personalized AI arsenal for themselves.
Okay, so now we're getting to the real heart of it. Because it's not really about the specific tools, is it? It's about how students are using them. And the first huge theme we see is this idea of AI as a study partner. It's a massive shift from seeing it as just, a smarter search engine.
And at the core of that idea is conversation. Students are using AI to have a dialogue. Think about it. They're turning the often lonely, solitary act of studying into a back and forth. And that's helping them build up their confidence, especially in situations where they might feel a little isolated or, afraid of being judged.
Just listen to this from Claire Smith, a postgraduate student. She said AI helped her feel less alone during her online classes. For her, it wasn't about getting a quick answer. It was about having a sounding board, a partner to bounce ideas around with when she couldn't just turn to a classmate. That's a game changer.
And this is just so powerful. Noviatri, who's an international student, said AI gave her a safe and responsive space. Just let that sink in. A safe space. I mean, how many of us have ever been in a class and been too scared to ask what we thought was a silly question? AI completely removes that fear of judgment. It creates this little bubble where it's okay to not know something, and it's safe to actually learn.
When you look at it this way, the whole shift becomes crystal clear. We're moving away from that old passive model. Sitting alone, reading a dense textbook, being afraid to ask questions, and we're moving towards something that's active and interactive. Instead of waiting days for a professor's feedback, you get it instantly. It's a fundamental change to the whole rhythm of learning.
But hang on, the story doesn't stop there. It's not just about conversation. The students are taking it to the next level. They're moving beyond just talking to AI, and they're starting to actively build with it. They're not just consumers of information anymore. They're becoming creators.
This is like level 2 engagement, right? We're seeing students who are actually telling the AI to challenge them, to play devil's advocate.
And in some of the most amazing cases, they're designing their very own custom AI tools from scratch. And let's circle back to Ruchira's story. This is just such a brilliant way to use AI. Instead of asking it, hey, is my idea good? She's telling it to find the holes in her argument. She's deliberately looking for weaknesses in her own reasoning so she can make her arguments even stronger. I mean, that's some seriously high-level critical thinking, and AI is the tool that makes it possible.
And then there's this example, which is just wow. A postgraduate student named Imogen Kelly didn't just use AI, she built her own. Get this, she created something called SimPatient. It's a custom GPT designed to help healthcare students practice talking to patients. She defined its entire personality, its knowledge base, its whole purpose. And the result? A custom-made tool that gives future doctors and nurses a safe place to practice one of the hardest skills, empathy. That is co-creation, right there.
So, when you pull it all together, what does this actually mean for the future of learning? It's pretty clear it's not just about having a new gadget in the classroom. All these stories, they're pointing to a deep, fundamental shift in what it even means to learn and what it means to be a student today.
At the end of the day, what this really tells us is that we need to change our vocabulary. AI in education, it's not a shortcut, it's not a cheat sheet. What these students are showing us is that AI is a co-thinker to brainstorm with, a coach to get instant feedback from, and a collaborator to build brand new things with.
And I think this quote from Smriti Umesh is the perfect way to wrap things up. She said that using AI made her see education as something active, creative, and deeply personal. It wasn't a chore anymore. It actually reconnected her with her own sense of curiosity. It made learning meaningful for her again. And that leaves us with a really big question to chew on. If a student's #1 partner in their studies is an AI co-thinker, what does that do to our definition of knowledge or of skill? What does it truly mean to learn in a world like that? That is the conversation we all need to start having.